Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 12th of October, now it's 10:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, but before I start, let me remind you that if you will click bell button on this video and then select section all, probably chances will increase that we will receive notifications from extremely aggressive or hostile YouTube algorithm, especially against independent channels and ones that are located in Russia, like mine. So that's one of the ways to deal with this algorithm. I did see many times comments of members of our community that they are not receiving notifications, and well, that's probably all we can do at this point. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukrainian special military operation. Well, according to reports from Russian media outlets and Russian language pages, including military pages on Telegram, main sector where significant activities are taking place is still Donetsk direction, city of Avdiivka and surrounding areas. And this morning, by the way, I did share information on my Telegram page that Russian armed forces did manage to establish control over the chemical plant in vicinity of Avdiivka, which was turned into a stronghold by Ukrainian forces. And at this point, as a result of clashes between the sides in previous 2 days, we would not be mistaken if we will say that this city, Avdiivka, is in operational control, operational encirclement by Russian forces, and it's highly likely that in coming days, entire city will end up in cold room. I guess Russian side is quite determined to establish control over this city. When it comes to other sectors of the front line, it's mainly artillery duels between the sides, local scale skirmishes, but nothing in the scale that will influence entire sector. And we can say it about all sectors, with the exception of Donetsk direction, from Kherson, Zaporozhye and South Donetsk to up to Seversk and Kupiansk directions. Also, by the way, during the previous night, Russian side conducted yet another wave of drone and missile strikes on logistical and military infrastructure of Kiev regime. Main direction of these strikes were Nikolaev, and one of the main directions were Nikolaev and Odessa regions. And according to latest reports, Russian side did conduct drone strikes on logistical and military infrastructure of Kiev regime on the Ismail direction, city of Ismail, which is located on Danube River. Maybe Russian military intelligence had some information that the Ukrainian side were preparing yet another drone strike, maritime drone strike, and these strikes from Russian side could be preventive measure. Of course, during the day we will learn some more about these night strikes, and I will share additional news on my Telegram page. And when it comes to Telegram itself, for new members of our community, I will say that if you can see a link to my Telegram under this video in description box or in the pinned comment, and you may find it quite a useful addition to this main channel on YouTube, because between the video updates I always upload dozens and dozens of news on my Telegram on daily basis. And this is, for example, by the way, video from Ismail about Russian drone strikes previous night. Now let's talk about some other important developments. But first of all, of course, I'm forced, really. I have to talk about this topic, that this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I do upload some extra content on a regular basis. That's being said, let's talk about some other news now. And RIA Novosti is reporting that as a result of a drone strike on Belgorod by Ukrainian side, 2 adults and 1 child, civilians, by the way, were killed in early hours of this morning. Yet another war crime from Kiev regime, and I'm quite sure no Western media outlet will report about this shelling of civilian areas. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that President of Russian Federation did made quite a few statements yesterday when he was participating in a conference about energy. It was Energy Week in Russia, and one of his statements was about Ukraine and gas transit through Ukraine, and he said that Ukrainian side is receiving from $4 to $5 billion every month, by the way, from EU member states, from the European states, as a payment for transit of Russian gas. As you all know, despite all the statements from Brussels, from the so-called Western elites, that they did achieve independence from Russian energy sources, this is lie. And in reality, EU member states are buying Russian gas through pipeline, by the way, that goes through Ukraine also. And of course, Russian LNG is becoming in high demand in EU member states, and Spain, France, and some other European states are increasing purchase of volume of Russian LNG that they are buying on monthly basis. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that US high-ranking officials are stating that Ukraine will continue its counteroffensive during the winter time. Also, and this statement belongs, by the way, to none other than new head of US General Staff or Chief of Staffs, Charles Brown. He said this during the press conference in Brussels, where meeting will take place of heads of defense ministries of NATO member states. And you tell me how delusional this individual is, this Charles Brown, that he is openly, without shame, is stating that Ukraine will continue its counteroffensive during the winter time. Also, when that counteroffensive, so-called counteroffensive, by the way, main axis of which was Zaporozhye, this area, by the way, this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line, when this so-called counteroffensive already failed, already has ended, and there is no way, not even slight chance that Ukrainian forces will regain initiative. They even lost initiative, by the way, and it's Russian forces that are significantly active nowadays on these directions than Ukrainian military. But yet again, that's individuals that are high-ranking, that are leading US militaries, like this Charles Brown. Total idiot, man. That's it, really. task news agents. And when it comes to offensive operations during the winter, of course, it's going to be a Russian side that will conduct decisive offensive operations in such a scale that, in my understanding, somewhere around mid or late spring, we may see beginning of the end of this conflict. That's how decisive, in my understanding, this winter Russian offensive will be. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that, well, according to CNN, by the way, propaganda outlet, propaganda tool of the Western so-called elites, Pentagon is afraid, high-ranking officials in Pentagon are afraid that they will have some issues with weapons and munition to continue simultaneously support Israel and Ukraine, which is possibility, by the way, because if conflict between Israel and Palestine will be prolonged one, of course Israel will need very same 155 millimeter shells that Pentagon already finding difficult to transfer to Ukrainian side. So Washington will be forced to make choices, and of course they will choose to support IDF and Israel. No doubts about that. But it's interesting that Western media outlets are talking about this issue. And this is something new, and it's only last couple of weeks, really, that Western media outlets did begin to talking about some difficulties when it comes to Ukrainian crisis. Which is, of course, indicator that Western so-called elites are preparing ground to distance themselves from EU regime when time is right, when they will, Washington and London will finally authorize or greenlight occupation of western regions of Ukraine by its western neighbors. Poland, Hungary, Romania, possibly Slovakia, with, I guess, active support of some other NATO member states. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Pentagon promises to help Ukraine build its air force, and of course we are talking about F-16s once again. Let me read several sentences. The US will lead the capability coalition to develop Ukraine's air force, including the training of Ukrainian pilots on flying F-16 fighter jets, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said on Wednesday. Well, yet again, statements just for statements. We all know, by the way, at least me personally, quite sure, as I said many times before, that Zelensky and his associates will never have their hands on Western fighter jets, never. And the only time when Western fighter jets will be introduced to Ukrainian theater of operations will be when Poland, Romania, Hungary, and some other NATO member states will begin establishing control over the western regions of this failed state. Simultaneously with ground operations, of course, these NATO member states will try to establish no-fly zone, and exactly at that time we will see introduction of Western fighter jets. Zelensky and his associates will never have in their disposal any Western-made fighter jets, despite all these stupid statements, really, from high-ranking officials in the West, in the Western states, including leading figures of Pentagon, like Lloyd Austin and this. What is the name of this another idiot, man? Head of General Staff of US. It called differently, not General Staff. Charles Brown, yes. It's another idiot that makes such a crazy statements. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to comment seriously statements from such a delusional individuals, man. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that IMF, by the way, International Monetary Fund, tells Ukraine to collect more taxes. That's quite something, really. And well, let me read several sentences. Ukraine has to find ways to finance itself as foreign support will dwindle. The head of the International Monetary Fund mission in the country has warned. Well, we all understand that it's only a matter of time when Western so-called elites will finally begin to distance themselves from Zelensky and his associates. And of course, this constant flow of money and weapons to Kiev regime will stop at some point. And speaking in financial terms, of course, Ukraine will be forced to finance itself, but it will never happen. It will never happen, and I'm quite sure once this conflict will end, Ukraine will be divided between its neighbors. Vast majority of Ukraine will become under full control of Russia. Western regions of Ukraine will become under control of Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, and so on. NATO, basically. I will give it 99%, by the way, and there is only slight chance in my reading of big picture, like 1%, that Kiev and surrounding several regions will remain as a quasi-independent state under the name of Ukraine. And even then, if that will happen, even then this quasi-state will be under full support of Western financial system, and Western taxpayers will pay to sustain that quasi-state. But when it comes to, but yet again, my understanding is that 99% Ukraine will be fully divided, and there will be no such a state on the political map no more after this conflict will finally end. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to official statement of official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, US, by the way, could not know. I mean, it's impossible, basically, that US intelligence services did not know about this operation that was conducted by Hamas against Israel, which is a, well, quite statement to made by official, by the way. We ordinary citizens can have different opinions on the topic, but Maria Zakharova is high-ranking official, and he's saying that US did have intelligence about this. Well, if US had intelligence, then it's two options. They did not share this intelligence information with Israeli colleagues, or they did share information with Israeli colleagues, and the Israeli government and Israeli security forces did nothing about it. For whatever reason. Maybe to use this escalation from Hamas to deal final blow to Gaza Strip, to force locals from Gaza to flee to Egypt, let's say, and this way establish, not just occupy, but establish full control over the almost empty territories. Maybe that's the scenario that we will see in upcoming days. But statement itself that Russian Foreign Ministry is sure that US Secret Services knew about this Hamas operation is quite important in my understanding. But let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that according to UN's data, already more than 330,000 residents of Gaza left their homes and are refugees now displaced in Gaza Strip. And this information only confirms what I just said, by the way. Maybe, and I said it from very beginning when this operation began, that it seems impossible to me that US or British or Israeli secret services didn't know about this operation. They probably knew, and they let Hamas to conduct this operation. so that they will use then outrage in Israel as a precursor to conduct large-scale offensive operation to invade basically Gaza Strip and force all locals to flee, vast majority of locals at least, to flee to some other places, to Egypt first of all, and maybe with humanitarian corridors to West Bank, or maybe to Jordan, Syria, or Lebanon, but to establish full control over the Gaza Strip eventually. And at this point, that's what is happening, by the way. Already 330,000 Palestinians are forced to flee their homes. And we have RIA Novosti's report, by the way, that Israel and Egypt did agree to create a corridor for foreigners in Palestine to flee this region. And same time, by the way, there were some reports that, and by the way, let me show you map of Israel and Palestine. This is Gaza Strip here, by the way, and it does bordering Egypt. It does borders Egypt, and well, that's why basically Egypt is agreed to open corridor for foreigners in Palestine. But same time, I did read this morning several reports that were kind of contradicting each other. According to ones, Israel and Egypt did agree on corridor also for refugees from Palestine, local residents of Palestine. But same time, just a couple of minutes ago, I did read additional news that Egypt is refusing to open corridor from refugees. But eventually, if this conflict will continue, I'm quite sure Egypt will be forced to open humanitarian corridor and receive hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of refugees from Gaza Strip. And eventually, as I said quite a few times, Gaza Strip probably will be empty from local residents. Vast majority of locals will be forced to flee, and that's the way possibly that current leadership of Israel wants to deal with this issue of resistance in Gaza. They will just occupy entire territory, and that's it. Let's continue. RT is reporting that Iraqi Prime Minister, which is who is in Russia, now did ask President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin to participate in negotiations with Palestine and Israel to end this confrontation. Well, Moscow already probably are doing its best to somehow influence the situation and stop hostilities, but we should understand that there is not that much that Moscow really can do in that region, especially because some other players usually have a major role in the region, and mainly US. I'm talking about, of course. And if US secret services and let's say Israeli secret services has a plan to deal with the Gaza issue by forcing locals out of that territory, then I don't think there is any force in this world, any politician or state that can influence decision-making process of Israel. But I'm quite sure Moscow will try its best and already are probably quite active in diplomatic terms. Also, TASS news agencies reporting. And when it comes to overall summary of the situation in Gaza Strip, by the way, Israeli side, it seems like Israeli side did establish full control over the bordering areas of Israel, bordering with Gaza. No ground operation has begun yet, although as time goes by, more and more reports are coming in that ground operation of Israeli army is imminent. At this point, Israeli side is focused on airstrikes, artillery strikes, missile strikes, and so on. And at this point, no third party is involved, fully involved in this confrontation. At least there are some local cross-border skirmishes between Israel and Lebanon, but Hezbollah are not involved in this confrontation. And me personally, as I said many times, I don't think Hezbollah will get involved in full scale. I don't think there will be war between Israel and Hezbollah or Lebanon. And for the very same reasons, I think Iran will also stay out of this confrontation. And when it comes to other neighbors, Syria is in no position now, of course, to have a direct confrontation with Israel. And Jordan, by the way, is a strategic partner of US. And of course, Jordan will not escalate with Israel. That's impossible. Even Sector Gaza, by the way, not Sector Gaza, but even the West Bank. Even the West Bank is staying out of this confrontation at this moment, although some local scale skirmishes definitely are taking place. So Gaza is left on its own at this point. But let's continue, and we have TASS news agency's report that President of Russian Federation Putin did arrive in Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyzia, former Soviet Republic. He will have meeting with local leadership, of course, and by the way, I remind you that on 17th and 18th of October, Putin going to take part in the third international forum, One Belt, One Road, which will be held in Beijing on 17th, 18th October. So I guess Putin will stay next several days in Central Asian republics. He may and then he will probably go to far east of Russian Federation, and then China. This visit, by the way, in Kyrgyzia is the first foreign visit of Putin this year. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that I should report about it a little bit earlier. According to officials in Gaza Strip, 1,200 people are killed as a result of Israeli strikes, and more than 5,000 people are injured, 5,600 at this point, and very high numbers of casualties are reported from Israel. Also, by the way, according to some reports, some 1,300 Israelis were killed during this incursion of Hamas fighters, and more than 3,000 Israelis are injured. So big numbers, of course, big numbers, and unfortunately, as conflict continues, number of casualties will unfortunately increase. Let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that today, as I already said in the beginning of this update, defense ministers and heads of defense forces of NATO member states will have a talk in Brussels, and main topics of this discussion will be Middle East and Ukraine. Although, by the way, we all understand that Ukraine is losing at its former pace when it comes to attention from the Western world due to this escalation in Israel. And of course, during the day, I will report about statements that will be made after that meeting of heads of defense ministries of NATO. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, according to Turkish media and Turkish experts, US is trying to influence Turkey, and US is trying to minimize efforts of Ankara to combat Kurdish armed forces in Syria and Iraq. And well, Turkish experts and media are not happy about it, and they are reporting, according to newspaper Sabah, that relationships between the sides, between Turkey and US, is deteriorating, and Ankara is not happy, extremely not happy, about incident that took place several days ago when US F-16 shot down Turkish drone which was attacking Kurdish positions in northern Syria. But yet again, I don't think Turkey in the position to significantly escalate with Washington, and probably hostilities of Turkish military personnel against Kurdish forces will decrease significantly. Although when we are talking about Erdogan and his government, anything is possible. By the way, Erdogan is definitely capable of surprises, and he may surprise Washington by escalating against Kurdish forces, not de-escalating. Let's continue. RT is reporting that, well, that's quite interesting, by the way. Putin did made a statement about political system in the Western states. And let me read several sentences. You may find it also interesting. So, Russia sees absolutely no sense in the EU's current policy of foregoing Russian energy supplies, particularly gas. President Vladimir Putin told the Russian Energy Week Forum on Wednesday, and he added that the modern political system in the West obviously sometimes brings not the smartest people to the top. Speaking about the issues of Russian gas exports to Europe, he pointed that what he called the lack of common sense in some European capitals. Well, can you disagree, by the way, with Putin? He has a point, isn't it? When you take a look what kind of individuals are running and basically ruining Western states in Europe, in North America, I don't think you will find many arguments against Putin's vision of current political system in the West. It's totally corrupt. And true rulers of the West, of course, using this corrupt system to put in places on places of power their puppets that are not really bright, but are selfish enough, corrupt enough to agree on anything that they are told and to sign everything that they will be ordered. And that's an unfortunate reality of modern Western world. Tell me in the comment section if you are disagree with me, but that's how I also see situation in the West. Take a look at Canada, by the way, what Trudeau and his government did to this great state that was example for entire world, by the way, just 10-15 years ago, not so long ago. And now even Canadians are forced to flee Canada or think about immigration. That's how devastating this Trudeau and his government are for Canada. Take a look at US, by the way, Biden and his administration, it's probably worst what could happen to US, isn't it? Take a look at Europe. You have such individuals like Baerbock and like Scholz in Germany, by the way, major economical powerhouse, still major economical powerhouse of Europe. Look at France, by the way, major country in Europe. Who runs France? Who is the president of France? Some crazy clown like Macron, who is I don't know. I will not give him a job of cleaning, by the way, because he is not capable to do anything properly, obviously, and he is, for whatever reason, is a president of France. And there is so many examples, by the way. We don't need to go too far. But anyway, let's continue. I can only hope that citizens of EU states will fed up with these crazies in their governments, and they will do something about it. They will create a new alternative elite that will work for societies of European states, and therefore will be adequate, pragmatic, and with such a leadership of EU states, of course, rest of the world will find it easier to have a business, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, I did already report about it, that relationships between Turkey and US is not in the best shape or place. TASS News Agency is reporting that Baltic Connector pipeline between Finland and Estonia that was damaged will be operational somewhere around April of 2024. And I remind you, dear friends, that yesterday head of NATO Jens Stoltenberg did made a statement that NATO will respond with unity and harshly if they will find out that there was some sabotage done on this pipeline. Of course, he was trying to point out on Russia, and they may claim Russia, but they may blame Russia for this some mechanical issues on that pipeline. But I don't think anybody in this world will take them seriously, because this regional pipeline definitely cannot be seen as a revanche for Nord Streams. If Russia will decide to, counter-strike, then I guess Russian side will take down something in similar scale and importance like Nord Streams were. Not some regional, irrelevant in a global scale pipeline, man. It's not serious. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, according to this report from RIA Novosti, Russian officials did make a statement that Russia is leaving a right that it will conduct nuclear tests if same will happen in the US. Lately, there are too much talk about nuclear tests. Russian side is conducting some infrastructure operations on Novaya Zemlya island in the north latitude, and let me show you Novaya Zemlya, by the way, on the map. So this is Novaya Zemlya here. If I'm not mistaken, yes, this is supposed to be Novaya Zemlya, by the way. This territory here, and this territory was main nuclear test site for Soviet Union. and there some building work is taking place in Novaya Zemlya, and because of it there are some reports that Russia is preparing nuclear testing. Although Russian side denied these claims, but now we are seeing this report here that if some other nuclear states will conduct nuclear testing, then Russia may also do so, especially if US will begin conducting such tests. And maybe in these difficult times when relationships between Russia and Western so-called elites are on very difficult terms, maybe US is planning to conduct tests with nukes, and of course Russia will follow suit, and some other countries will also probably in that case begin to conduct nuclear testing, which is unfortunate really, because nuclear weapons definitely are weapons that can destroy entire humanity, and we don't really need escalation or between the nuclear states or the nuclear race. We don't need this, but unfortunately that's the direction that world is heading, I'm afraid. Let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian and Indian sides are in negotiations to prepare meeting between Putin and Modi, between leaders of two states. Well, that will be great if two leaders met this year. India is a strategic partner for Russia, and always was. India always was friendly to Russia, and before, during the Cold War, India was very friendly, in good terms with Soviet Union. So it's a tradition that New Delhi and Moscow are on good terms, and hopefully it will continue. Hopefully it will continue, and that, of course, if meeting of leaders of those two states will take place, it will fast track further increase in relationships of two countries. Also, interesting report from RIA Novosti. Iran did send a message to Moscow that it can provide its corridors, its transport network and corridors to export Russian grain, which is quite interesting proposal from Iran, I guess. And I'm quite sure Russia will respond positively on this initiative, because after all, before very our eyes, formation is happening of this north-south trade route from Russia to Iran, and Iran definitely may become one of the routes from which Russia will continue or conduct its exports, not just grain but also all the other goods, which will be beneficial for both countries, of course. And RT is also reporting that IMF, by the way, upgrades growth forecasts for India, which is good news. And according to IMF, India's economy will grow this year 6.3%, which is great news for India. Of course, Indian government would like to double this number, and hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. I wish them best of luck. But 6.3% is also not a bad result, really. Also, RT is reporting that Russian electricity is 10 times cheaper than in the UK, and at least 4 times cheaper than in EU member states that has cheapest electricity. And that was said by one of the heads of Russian Sber Bank during this conference about energy that took place in Russia. And that's quite a number. Let me read several sentences, really. Electricity costs for Russian consumers are nearly 10 times lower than in the UK and are roughly 4 times less than in the EU. A leading banker stated on the Wednesday, referring to prices for households and businesses. Anatoly Popov, deputy chairman of the board of the Russia's largest lender, Sber, it's the largest Russian bank, was speaking at the Russian Energy Week forum in Moscow. Electricity is cheap in Russia. If you take the price in Russia and the price in the British industries pay, I don't know if there is any industry left with such prices, but the price is almost 10 times lower in Russia than in the UK. In the EU, the prices for industrial consumers are 4 times higher per kilowatt hour, and for households also 4.5 times higher. Popov explained. Well, that's quite interesting numbers, really. And well, I didn't expect that in the UK electricity costs 10 times more than here. I mean, wow. Wow, that's unbelievable, man. How not just industry is gonna keep with such prices then, but also ordinary households. It's gonna be difficult, man. 10 times more. Wow. Unbelievable. And by the way, I'm afraid if Western so-called elites continue their crazy policies, prices on energy will just go up, not come down. And RT, by the way, is reporting that US adds additional 500 billion to debt in the less than a month. Well, let me read a few sentences. US national debt surged by more than 500 billion in just 20 days to reach 33.5 trillion, according to data provided by Treasury Department last week. At some point, by the way, US, with such a speed that Washington is increasing its debt, at some point, US will probably reach situation where they will spend more money to service these loans than they are spending on internal issues on US itself. And at some point, US will go bankrupt for sure. US will be forced to, stop paying for its debt, and that's gonna be, catastrophic for US economy. US definitely may go bankrupt, default. That's financial term for this, I guess. Let's hope it will not happen, because it will devastate the entire world. But with such a pace, by the way, 500 billion in less than 20 days. Wow. That's quite something. And this is gonna be last news for today's update. Hopefully you will find this video interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like. And if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this project, this channel is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care. See you soon.